when you get to your deathbed, what do you hear most people talk about? It's the regrets. And so if you already know that, you already know you're going to die. The end is already decided. When? We don't know, but we already know the outcome. And you already know scientifically what most people say is going to, you're going to say at the end of it. Solve that problem now while you can enjoy it and live it.
Yeah, for sure. And don't leave. I mean, there is also there's circumstances that are within your control, but there's also circumstances that are not within your control. And I think that's part of that is part of doing this is to work with what you've got in terms of the parameters that you have, but also how many of those parameters are self-imposed, and how many of those parameters are ones that, they're the things that you just carry on from before, right? Hello and welcome to the And Both podcast. Here we are going to hear from moms and those in motherhood that are doing the thing that works for them. They are honoring themselves alongside the all-encompassing role and level of expectation that is modern motherhood. And we are going to hear from as many different people as possible in their own experience. So you can find people to relate to. You can hear stories that will make you laugh, make you cry, all of the above, and that we will come together as a community to support one another in a way that is holistic and honoring of the woman and the mother as a whole. Hello and welcome to another episode of the And Both podcast. I am here today with Gabs Hayes. Welcome.
I'm so excited to be here, Ashley. I've been binging episodes too, and I'm just this is the place I was meant to be. So I'm so excited to be here.
I love it. I want to actually have the flag out there because I feel like there's so many people that are trying to find a place where it's not such a segmented conversation that I'm why don't we just have sort of an open clubhouse feel to it? So I appreciate if that's coming through. Hopefully that's the goal.
Absolutely.
Nice. I like it. So before we jump into all of this fun stuff, why don't you let people know what you want them to know about you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever.
So I'm Gabs. I am an entrepreneurial mother of 3. I am married to my favorite human being in the entire world, but it took us almost 20 years to get there for me to be able to say that. And so, I think much like parenting, much like entrepreneurship, much like marriage, right? All of it takes work. And so I really would say for the last 7 years, I've been on this journey of just questioning everything I thought I knew, everything I thought life was supposed to be, and have come out on the other side with this peace and calm and intentionality that I never thought was possible. And I think that has helped a lot with this kind of and both scenario that I live in, because I both run multiple businesses and have multiple kids. So it's just a constant and both in my life. But it's getting me to a place where I can feel grounded inside of that space and help others feel the same. So we're really excited for us to chat about the realities of this and both in my world today.
Yeah, seriously. I know. And I think too, there's the way that things have moved forward, especially in the last couple of decades, is and both is not the exception anymore. And I love that there are more people who are saying well, no, I'm not making those choices. A choice doesn't have to be made. It's more of a strategy around how to fit these pieces in. And that's not to say that if you're not shoehorning everything into your life that you're not doing it correctly, but it's that cultivating a life versus someone handing you a list and being here you go, these are all the things that you should do and have to do.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. I have a lot of friends that are childless by choice. And I look at them now and I tell them all the time how much I respect them for that choice, because I started young. I didn't know that was a choice, right? I was just following what was modeled for me and what I was taught to believe. And I don't think there's anything wrong with one or the other, but it's like you're saying, it's your strategy. And I really love this, Ashley, of life is a strategy game and you get to decide what moves you're going to play. So sorry if someone told you it's Monopoly, one direction, you pass go and keep it moving. It actually is, you get to decide where you're going to go and what things you want to say yes to.
Yeah, agree wholeheartedly, especially you only get one kick at the can of the whole thing. So Do you want to spend all that time being like, oh, I have to sign up for the 87? I mean, it also, like, again, we're recording this in May. May is madness. May is like the motherhood marathon gauntlet, head in a blender, like total upside down world. And so I feel like May is when my peak, like, no, I'm not going to do that comes out. Like, it's, Christmas, I want to like put things in there, and Thanksgiving and break and summer and all that stuff. May is the one where I'm like, I will not sign up to bring in 50 juice boxes, and you can't make me.
Yeah. This week is Spirit Week in our world, and I forgot
Oh,
yesterday was pajama day. And I'm like, why can we not just wear freaking clothes? Why do we have to have a Spirit Week? Like, these kids are 8. They don't care. I mean, yes, it makes them a little bit more excited, but the stress level it puts on us to keep up with the shit, it's not worth it.
and why are we spirit weeking in, like, where my kids go to school? Why are we spirit weeking before vacation week? Like, what sort of like educational screw you are we throwing at parents to be like, oh, you don't want to pack another lunch and you are looking forward to a week of like not having to wake your kids up and like poke them out of bed and like listen to these like angry dinosaurs eat breakfast? Like, why do we now have to have like dress like a pirate day in February? I don't need that.
I don't ever need that. I don't care what day of the week it is or what year of the month. I mean, what week of the month. I don't ever need that. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, okay, well, we're here just winging it. And my kids get out of school next week. So I'm even more on the like, if they are there, you better be grateful right now because we are on the countdown to not having to do this morning routine right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the last week. It's basically the last week of school for you, and you're doing a spirit week. Like, who came up with that? Someone who was mad about something was like, you know what I think we need to do from now until the end of time is we need a spirit week at the end of any sort of like whatever, just to see if we can tap dance on the last nerve of the entire parent body here with high heels on. Like,
Yeah.
well, not nice. It's just not nice.
No. There are so many days where I'm like, damn, I miss homeschool. Homeschool was nice. I got to make the rules.
Yeah, seriously. And like, speaking of a journey, so you have been on a serious journey, like a literal one too, right? Like you did the whole like not living at home, nomad. Tell me about this because I'm fascinated. Please
Yeah,
and thank you.
so I like to quantify we're slow nomads because I think when people think of digital nomad, they think of someone like in a van roaming around somewhere new every week. I have 3
100%.
kids, so like let's be real, that's just not our life at the moment. So we kind of live somewhere like a year or 2 and then we will move somewhere else. So for context, we've lived in 7 states in the last 11 years and it's just been part of it was like my husband and I were both born and raised in Atlanta, and so after we got married, we were like, why are we just here? There's a whole country out there. So we went to Colorado on our honeymoon and it was like, I mean, I just remember this like almost like a veil coming off of my eyes where I was like, I cannot believe this is the same country I've lived in my entire life. And it just
Mm,
felt so different and it looks so different. And I was a fairly well-traveled child. Like my mom always made sure we had vacations, but it was like always on the East Coast. That's kind of where we always stayed. So to start going west and just seeing this completely different culture and this completely different landscape. And so, yeah, we've just kind of bebopped around the country. Since then, I think we are slowing down. My oldest will start high school this upcoming school year. And so we've made a commitment to him that we'll live here in Phoenix for those 4 years for him to finish out high school. But then after that, who knows? Never know what the two of us are going to decide and be up to.
I love that because that is essentially, right? Is like it's taking the book of shoulds and tossing it out the window and being like, what makes the most sense for our family and our life?
Yeah. I mean, I laugh about this, but my grandmother would call me and she would say to me, you have to put roots down. Your kids have to play sports. They have to have friends. They have to. And like, I look at my grandparents and they properly planned for retirement, all the things we were taught, right? Put your money in your 401k, get your pension. Like they did all of those things. And they're just living the most unsatisfied, unhappy retirement ever. And I think to myself, I'm literally stressing how to put food on the table most days. And you are rolling in money and you're still angry and you're still upset. And so, like, if you want me to do the have tos that you did, they haven't modeled this beautiful life that I'm chasing after for me. So, like, I'm going to just break the rules and do what I want. And Even so, like an interesting dynamic is I have siblings that are also in high school. So my mom and I are raising similar age children at the same time. And so that's always like a unique dynamic because she'll say the same thing to me. You have to let your kids play sports. And then in this, she'll take a deep breath and then she'll go, and we have to go to practice and then we have to do this. And then and I was like, that's what you want me to sign up for? Is like that same thing that you're screaming and frustrated about?
We all have to suffer together. It's miserable over here. Get in.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I think that the beauty of all of it is like, it's that knowing yourself well enough and like the two of you being like, we actually do not subscribe to this magazine. Thank you very
Yep.
much. And we can read it and we can see it. And thank you for sharing it. But I don't want my own subscription. I will continue to like peruse the library of life and travel around and see the things that I want to.
Yeah. And, it's like saying, we have friends in old neighborhoods that we've lived in that, they're going to probably die in that house, right? Like that's where they are, they're going to stay. And I think the bigger thing to take of this conversation is it's okay, whatever subscription feels right for you. And this is not to say the way I do it is right or the way that, someone else is doing it is wrong. It's just, I encourage you to take a step back and look at, like you said, Ashley, you only get one shot at this thing called life. And part of my story is I lost my son 7 years ago. So I had a very vivid reminder that is true for people that I would have given anything to save their life, right? And so it made us start looking at life a little bit different too, of that every day we get to experience life is a present. It's a joy. It's something to be grateful for. And I just refuse to go through the motions with zero intentionality on however many days I have left on this earth.
How old was your son?
He was born stillborn. So went in to have a baby and came home with a death certificate.
Wow. That's that. I mean, if you could put a like, it's time to reevaluate in the most massive way, like impetus out there, that would be one of them. Like that's the like, what the hell is going on in the world and what the hell is going on? Holy God.
Yeah. And, I tell people all the time, like my mission after that day, and of course it's taken me time to get there, right? And I want to call that out because I think every single one of us will have something in our lifetime that's going to shake you to your core. And you're going to be like, wait a second. Is this the life I want? Whose life am I living? Why have I made the decisions I've made? But my hope is that, in particular for parents, that I can be the voice enough that you can have that wake up call without the tragedy that goes with it. Like you're allowed to have that wake up call today, tomorrow, next week, next year, whenever it is. And you don't need it to be something that completely like tears your life apart. And I tell people all the time, traditionally, when I share my son's story, the very first thing people naturally say is, I'm sorry, right? And I think that they genuinely are. But what I say back to them is, I'm not. Because I don't think if it weren't for that situation, would I have ever woken up? Would I have ever started to question a lot of these things in my lifetime? Probably not. I had a great life. We built a custom home in one of those golf course communities, and we were riding around our golf cart and doing the parades and doing all the things. And I remember when we decided to leave there after my son passed, my dad was like, why would you ever want to raise your kids anywhere else? And that's a fair question, but I couldn't be there anymore. That wasn't the life I actually wanted. And there are times that I look back and I say, oh, I actually regret that we left there. Like it's easy to say, well, what would life look like had I have stayed? Because life's not been easy since we left. So sometimes you have to decide, did I bring that on myself? But the adventures that I've learned, the marriage I've built on the backside of this, the businesses I've been able to create, the fact that I've learned I'm an extremely creative person and I thought I was just a project manager. I mean, there's a lot of things that have come on being willing to stick my neck out there and try, knowing failure is it's a big possibility, but beauty and excitement and memories are also a really big possibility too. And we've just decided as a family, we're going to chase those before we chase anything else.
Yeah. That's the so I used to work as an inpatient therapist for a very long time. And the two things, most of the people that I worked with were older, 70, 80, 90. I had a 100-year-old patient once. She was awesome. Still did her own cooking. And they, you spend a lot of time with these people. And so I would ask them, about things that they enjoyed and like good parts of their life and all this stuff. And then always, is there anything that you would have had done differently? Number one, far and away, were women that wanted to have more kids that chose not to because of some logistical piece. They were like, I
Mhm.
wish I had more kids. And I was like, interesting, because it's expensive and it's a whole thing and that's a whole whatever. And, there's all 1 million logistics that come with that. But second, and very close to that, were people that I wish I had started that business, or I wish I had I wish I had traveled to that place when I, didn't need to have my knees replaced or whatever. But it's always I wish that I got out of my own neighborhood, my own town, my own county, whatever that is, and went and saw these different parts of the world, because you realize how quick life goes and you realize how small your world really is until you start exploring other places.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to my father-in-law yesterday, and we have a beautiful, great relationship. And he was telling me, he said, your whole life you're working and you're chasing your paycheck and you're chasing your retirement next, and you're doing all these things. And it's all because you're promised you're going to have all this time and money when you get older to be able to do the things you want to do. He goes, but then your body can't do it anymore. And he's
Mhm.
still mobile. He still drives, he's still all those things. But he's like, I don't just pick up and go to the beach anymore or just like leave for a week because I always have a doctor's appointment, or, my body just doesn't feel right walking 10,000 steps a day anymore, like all of these things. And I think that's something we don't talk about enough, is like we all keep waiting for the like one day win. But the one day win that's in your head is made up. It's whatever
Mhm.
you have decided it is. So what's stopping you from moving that timeline up and making that one day win now?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, let's put that on an echo. It's for real, because you can wait and you can wait and wait. And, we all have stories of like I know people that they were about to retire and had an aneurysm. Like,
Mhm.
you worked all that time, you saved money, you like planned and strategized and blah, blah, blah. And you didn't get 1 minute of it. Not
Nope.
one flippin' minute of it. Or people that it's like someday I'll go and do that, and then the bottom falls out of whatever, and now the someday is never going to happen. Like, you don't want that to be the thing you look back on.
Mhm.
And it also doesn't have to be. I think that's the other part, is I also don't think it has to be like, I mean, who isn't going to take a villa in Italy and 6 weeks of vacation, right? Like, if that just rolled into your lap, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the end piece. And that's what I really like about this conversation, is that it's not like, you're not buying a $20 million mansion and saying, oh, I finally made it. You're like, we're going to take the kids to Disney or whatever it is, or like go camping as a family for a week or do something, but that the size of that thing isn't as important as going to do that thing.
Well, and I even think, if you're having a hard time wrapping your mind around, even if it is a trip to Disney, like I know for some people that feels extremely out of reach to even wrap their mind around right now. Start with something small.
Mhm.
Just before we started recording, I was telling Ashley, like, I'm working through this now, but my inherent reaction when the kids do something that pisses me off is to yell. And I'm working through that. But like, even just that, deciding when they spill a cup of water, it's not worth yelling over. That's a small thing. It's going to take time. But like, just making that choice that it's not one day when the kids stop spilling water, I'm going to stop yelling. Instead, it's going to be one day when they spill water, I stop yelling now, because they're not going to stop spilling water. They're going to mess things up for the rest of their life because they're humans, and that's going to happen. And I've had to start taking ownership to say, how I react to the little stuff now is how they think I'm going to react to the big stuff when they get bigger and their life problems get bigger. And I
Mm,
never don't want to be the safe place where they come back and say, I messed up and I
yeah.
need help, or I'm stuck, or I don't know what to do. Like, I want dad and I to be the place that they go for that. And so it started with small things too, of like, I need a lot of alone time. If you're familiar with human design, I'm a reflector in human design, so that's part of my like literal nature, is that I'm supposed to have a lot of alone time. But just in general, that's who I've always been, is like I need a lot of space. And so, of course, motherhood doesn't always grant you that space, right? Someone could literally be needing you 24 hours a day. And I have had to stop feeling guilty that I take that space because it allows me to live this life now, which is more peaceful, more grounded. And so it's even finding how do you do those little things? And then you can start building up to the bigger things if you think it's going to move the needle. But you will. And I love that you brought this up, Ashley, about your patients because you hear it all the time. When you get to your deathbed, what do you hear most people talk about? It's the regrets. And so if you
Mhm.
already know that, you already know you're going to die. The end is already decided. When, we don't know, but we already know the outcome. And you already know scientifically what most people say is going to, you're going to say at the end of it. Solve that problem now while you can enjoy it and live it.
Yeah, for sure. And don't leave. I mean, there is also like there's circumstances that are within your control, but there's also circumstances that are not within your control. And I think that's part of that is part of doing this is to work with what you've got in terms of like the parameters that you have, but also how many of those parameters are self-imposed. Like and how many of those parameters are ones that, they're the things that you just carry on from before, right? Like, my kids should be doing this. It should. I have a keychain that says "Don't should on yourself," and my kids think it's the funniest thing because I hate that word. It's like one of those like banned words in the house, like "Oh, should do this." I'm like, no, but it's that idea of like, what are your actual boundaries? What are the ones that you carry that aren't actually your problem, but you still hold on to them anyways?
Yeah. And, I've been on this journey of trying to kind of answer that question and lots of others about my life for 7 years now. But I would say there's probably a lot more than you think. We just haven't slowed down enough to spend time with them, right? I mean, as a culture, we embrace busyness and we embrace being stressed and we embrace a crazy schedule, right? I mean, every time you ask someone, how are they doing? You're like, oh, well, I'm just so busy. And it's like, why do you want to be? Like, are you enjoying
Mhm.
your life? And I'm saying this so lovingly as someone who literally worked, 80-hour weeks. And, my husband had to be like, listen, I'm tired of only seeing the top of your forehead over your laptop. Like, I want to actually have a life with you. And so, like, I know what that feels like. And I used to wear that busyness like a badge of honor. I thought that was like the greatest thing in the world. But I grew up in a corporate environment. I was chasing a corner office with a C title. So, like, it took me years to break free of what I thought, my life was supposed to look like.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, how is that going? Because I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are listening who are going like, "Yeah, that sounds great. I'd love that, but like how do I even get started?" Because, it's like the hamster on the wheel, right? Like if you have the hamster and it gets running so fast. I had this hamster when I was a kid that used to run so fast and then it would like trip or something and then it would get stuck and like the wheel would keep going and you're like, if that isn't modern America, I don't know what is.
Seriously. Listen, I'll tell you the way I did it. I don't necessarily recommend it, but so I was a full-time tech consultant. I worked in product and tech for a while, and I had friends who also had their own independent consulting firms, and they would reach out and ask me to take projects. And so I built my first business through side hustling first. So when I tell you my husband said, I'm tired of only seeing you over the laptop, like he meant that because I was picking up clients on the side. I was working full-time. I was doing all these things. And then I decided my side hustling was surpassing my full-time income. And so I was like, okay, there's something here. I could actually do this. Let me finally believe I'm worth believing in. And for those of you who are in the tech space or familiar with, right, like for the last, oh gosh, I don't know, probably 6, 7, 8 years, our industry has been tumultuous. It has been, you've been treated like a number, you get just fired or let go at a drop of a dime. So you're used to waiting for someone's approval to say yes to you. Yes, you can have that promotion. Yes, you can have this job. Yes, you get to stay on this project. I mean, it was this constant like waiting for someone to say yes. So I finally decided to say yes to myself. I ran that consulting firm for 5 years. I crossed 7 figures in revenue. I crossed the 5 year mark when most women-owned businesses shut down. I did all the shoulds that I was like, oh, this is exactly what it should be like running a business. And then I kind of had a big wake up call where I was like, I built myself into the same box that I came from, except for this is the hellhole I built myself into. Like no one else is forcing me to stay here. And so that was actually December of last year. I shut that consulting firm down. I realized it was no longer aligned with me and the work that I wanted to be doing. And I had to give myself permission to do that. But also, there was kind of a big universal kick. So I have had mental health challenges most of my life, as far back as I can remember. And I tend to be very controlling. So I tend to have them managed pretty well. But there obviously gets to a point where I need assistance and I need help. And towards the end of last year, I had just hit complete and total burnout, complete and total just depression and exhaustion. And I had a suicidal ideation night that for the very first time, my kids understood that their mom had mental health challenges. They had never been made aware, but it got so bad I couldn't hide it anymore. And that was a massive wake up call for me that I was doing all of this for them. Because if I didn't have kids, I would be living in a van, riding around and be happy as could be. So I'm doing all of this for them. And I was willing to leave them because of the chaos and the hell I had put my own self into. And so I started completely over in January and it's been scary, right? I mean, it's anyone who's launched a business or even done a hobby, anytime you start over, it's always bumpy, it's always a little rough, it's always a little scary. But I will also talk to people from my life, that I haven't talked to in a year or 2 years, and they're like, "You're so calm and you're so peaceful. Like, are you sure you're still like figuring out the finances? And are you sure you're like, not having to make some massive, scary life decisions right this moment?" And I said, "Yeah, because I just decided I was going to live present where my feet were, and I was not going to worry about what could have been or what should be." And it has completely changed how I show up in life, how I show up as a partner, how I show up as a mom, I show up as a business owner. And that is what I would actually tell people is start with intention and start with decisions of like, what do you actually want your life to look like? And then build from there, work backwards from that, because that's ultimately the goal anyway, is this life that you're happy to wake up to and enjoy every day.
Yeah, because you don't want to get to the point where like you got the C-suite position, but the C-suite is a jail cell. It is not that's not the goal. And you realize that's not the goal. So, I mean, I do want to say above and beyond everything else, like, thank you for sharing that because I know that's massive. And, it is something that I don't think a lot of people talk about. I think a lot of people I think when in the culture, when we talk about burnout and overwhelm and things like that, it's so hard to separate the nuances of, like you were talking about, like the focus on busyness as a badge of honor and all of that stuff. It's like these words get cannibalized to mean something that they're not. Like when you're talking about burnout, significant mental health, like anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, suicidal action, like all of those pieces, those are here. And I think that people you run out of stuff to explain the level of overwhelm. And so people end up starting to pull things from places and they recalibrate a word. And that's a really dangerous space to be in, because when you get to that place where you're like, I am done, I am done, so done. And people are like, oh, me too. I had a crazy Friday. I'm so burnt out. And you're like, no, I'm literally on fire. I am aflame right now. And our lives are different. I'm in another category and I need help. And I think it's always really important to delineate those two. I think that when I read about burnout and overwhelm, on social media posts, it's always I wish there was this disclaimer on the bottom to be like, I mean it in this way because those keywords have been taken to mean something else. So I do want to say thank you for sharing that above and beyond everything else.
Yeah. And I love this. It's almost like when you say the word burnout, you need to put a scale, 1 to 5 next to
Yeah.
it when you post it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So I have a good friend, Allison Campbell, who runs Unburnt, and it's all around burnout. And, I think much to what you're saying, Ashley, I heard it so much. I really thought burnout, genuinely, I thought burnout meant I was going to collapse on the ground and could not keep going. And then I would know I needed to do something about it. I had no idea it was this thing that I could just keep living with and keep living with and keep showing up with. And so I had Allison come talk to my clients in January, and I was just listening. And I heard her say, there was a specific moment where she said, if you got good rest, like you got 8 hours of sleep, it was genuine rest, but you wake up and you still feel like you're in the fog. You still feel like it's so hard to keep going every day. I don't know what it was, but it was like the way she said it or something, but it hit me. It was like, oh my God, I've been burnt out for 7 years. And I just kept going, literally waiting for the day that my body was just going to collapse on the floor. And then I was going to know I'd go see someone about it and I would do something about it. And I had no idea that I could unpack that now and I could make those changes now. And so I feel very fortunate that happened at the same time that I kind of made this decision of like, I'm going to live in the present and I'm not going to keep chasing other things, because I've been real intentional about this year of like trying to figure that out. But you're right. It's so hard because, oh, I'm so busy. And everyone's like, me too. Oh, I'm so burnt out. Me too. And it's like, well, first of all, that's an epidemic and we should be doing a lot more about it than we are. But also, don't be commiserating with people over that. That's not something to go find your tribe and celebrate. If you're going to go find a tribe who's going to help you get over that, who's going to help you figure out how to leave it. But instead, I think we have gone to this, let me find people who are just like me and who are also stressed and hate their life and are angry and, want to sit down and talk shit about their spouse and then, can't wait to drop their kids off at school and like all these things. And it's like, no, go find people who are going to help you get through that, because it's okay if that's where you're at. Like, please hear Ashley and I out. We're not saying you are a bad person or it's a bad thing that your life feels like that now. But there is another side to it, and you can just decide. Like, you don't need permission from anyone. Today, right now, before you finish this podcast, you can decide no more, not doing it anymore.
Yeah. And definitely like to ring that, it's like there's no medal at the end of the finish line, right? There's no medal when you've fried yourself completely. I just wrote this post, not post, I just commented on a post on LinkedIn this morning, and they were talking about Maycember and like the madness that it is and all of this stuff. And they're talking about the mental load of it and stuff. And I think like there's no medal on June 1st for like, congratulations, you completed every sign up genius that was sent your way. Congratulations, your kid made it to all the days of Spirit Week. Congratulations, like, good job. Like, no one is tracking your progress. And so like we have to put down the checklist and the checkbox of like what it means to be good. Because if you respond to every single email with like, absolutely, yeah, sure, would love to, and then that's not your capacity at this point in time, no wonder, right? Like, no wonder things are in the space that they are. And so stop saying yes. Like, no and boundaries is I, again, will shout this from the rooftops. No is a full sentence, and no is 100% your choice in all of this. You can say no.
Yeah. I tell my kids' teachers at the beginning of the school year, I am not the field trip mom. I am not the come volunteer in the classroom mom. I am not the come to field day mom, but you have something on your supply list that you need, or you need something shipped to the school, Amazon will deliver it with your name on it. But I'm not like that with my kids. I'm not a play on the floor kind of mom. I'm not a do imaginary things kind of mom. I never have been. And so it doesn't make me any less supportive to their teachers and their school and their classroom if I'm not doing those things. Now, you want a mom to come in and lead kids who want to do entrepreneurial projects as an after school team? Sign me up. I'm there. I will do those kind of things. But like, to hold their hands while they walk around the aquarium and chase 8-year-olds all over no, that's not me. And I'm not going to enjoy it. And they're not going to like me as their chaperone. Like, it's just not, it's not going to work for any of us. So I'm not doing it anymore. But I have friends with kids in high school who are giving me hope that the high school field trips are worth it and they're fun. So I'm like, maybe next year I'll feel differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you're not really worried about them running away per se and like, getting thrown in the back of the van with a candy sign on the side of it. I do. And you know what? I do think too, it's also important to like know that your level of commitment and what you're like signing up for is not set in kindergarten. And I
Ooh,
think
yeah.
that's like really important for people to hear. Like, I have 4 kids my oldest is 7 years older than my youngest. So that body of time and those people moving through, like when my youngest was in kindergarten, I had a 2-year-old. When she finished kindergarten, I was newly pregnant had a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old who was finishing preschool. I was just trying to stay awake. Like,
Yeah.
honest to God, I was just trying to stay awake, right? Like, do you want to bring in something for end of school day? God, no. Everyone in my house, except for my daughter and my husband and myself at that point in time, are incontinent. Like,
Right.
it's not, or we're kind of borderline there. We've got to pay attention to some of the younger ones. It's not a time where I can be like, I would absolutely love to get on an apple cart, like a wagon, and go out apple picking, because like the circus that's me getting from my front door to my car in the morning to bring you to school, I'm already sweating and it's not great. So that's the thing. If you start in a certain way, you don't have to end in the certain way. To say like, if you don't get involved in any of that stuff, because you don't have time, that can change over time. But you don't also have to be the person who signs up for everything all the time, does it perfectly with the bows and the thing, blah, blah, blah. And you have to do that for the next 12 years. You're not signing a contract. No one
No.
is looking.
No, and it's if that brings you joy and you love it, freaking go for it, man. We need those kind of parents, in the
Hmm.
schools and all of that. But also at the same time, yeah, it's like if you are in a season of survival, focus on surviving. Like,
Yeah.
I think about a lot now. My husband calls me a crunchy-ish mom. And so I think a lot around like how we lived before we had all these conveniences and all these things. And it's like when you literally had to fight for survival in your life, you weren't worried about, does the cave person next to me, do they think I'm doing a good enough job? Are they worried about how I handled the tiger that was chasing after me? Like they were just doing what they needed to do. And like, despite all the access we have to things now, we have reverted to this like we won't do what we want to do because we're so worried about what somebody else will think about. And I'm like, I
Hmm.
can promise you their life is just as much of a mess as yours. They might not show it as much as you do, but like their life is a mess too. And they need to be worried about that. Like they have their own story, their own chapters, their own book that they're supposed to be writing. Like you just focus on your book. That's all that you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole, like, again, we're going into summer. That's the whole bathing suit thing, right? It's like, I don't go in the water with my kids because I'm like worried about like me and my bathing suit. That's not true. Everyone is concerned about their own bathing suit. Like, just get in the water.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine. We're all going to make it.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's the like, I mean, we look up when we really need to look down, and we look down when we really need to look up. It's like this weird, like, backwards thing. Like, nobody cares at the beach who's like running around. I mean, if you've got some sort of bathing suit on, like, that's the bare minimum requirement. But like, people are so locked in their own head and they're so locked in their own world. And that's a time when that, like, we can flip the thinking on that. But then when it comes to the sign up things, like, we're so worried about what everyone else is doing. We've got to like lock in. Very strange.
We are strange beings, that's for sure.
We are. Yes. So tell me about this new venture now, like where, you come to this huge revelation and you start building. What are you building now? And how does that look differently than what you had going before?
Yeah. So now I'm building the community in the village for parents who are also running a business because I genuinely felt like, one, I didn't have that support when I got started because any coaching or support or mentorship that I could find was all people who didn't have kids or who came from a different background than I did. And so the advice just didn't apply to my reality. And I was tired of trying to again shoehorn and force myself to do the same things they were doing. But also I tend to be a go inward person when things get hard, and I have had to learn the power of having people to stop me from spiraling, to stop me from thinking my problems are the biggest problems in the world or thinking I don't have answers to solutions. And so I have a podcast called Overwhelmed and Over It where we have these kinds of conversations of like, what is just completely killing your vibe this week? And like, how do we get over that? And then I have a community where we come together and we swap services, we do feedback for each other. Yesterday, I posted a picture because my 5-year-old was pissed off at me. And so she literally opted to stare at the door instead of dare look at me. And so I took a picture of her staring at the door and I was like, this is how my coworker's doing today. She woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And there's just something about not doing it alone. And so I like to say that I'm building the place where parents who are also building businesses get to do life together.
Yeah, it's a community of understanding.
Yeah.
Like, how many people do you think saw that picture yesterday and were like, I don't even need the caption. I already know exactly what's happening in that moment.
Oh yeah, everyone's like, that was my three-nager yesterday, or like, this is me this week. I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to look at the wall.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah, no, and that's the one thing that, I mean, one of many, but one thing I really love about kids is they are the ones who are like, that actually does not work for me. And you're like, okay, but like, we have to leave the house. And they're like, just a no from me. I,
Unapologetic.
I want to harness that for later. And I appreciate what you're doing. Can we just sort of like shimmy around that? And then how do you navigate that? But I want to take that energy going forward for
Yeah, I'm
sure.
like, if we could take your confidence, your unapologeticness, and your energy, if we could bottle those up, none of us would have to work again. It'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. A little ode to nobody's bullshit. Yeah.
There you go. That's what we're going to call it. The
Yeah.
potion. No bullshit.
Well,
Only my own.
yeah, yeah. Not here for your stuff. I'm only here for my own. Well, I mean, when I read the snippet that you put in to like sign up for the show, it was like, balance is bullshit. I literally wrote that. I read that and was like, yes, please. I would like to know this lady and have a conversation with her because this sounds like it's going to be a great space.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it goes back to, I think so many of us are waiting for permission slips to live the life we want to live. And whether it's balance, whether it's partnership, whatever it is, it's like, just let that go. And, you're trying every day. I think we've accepted as a parent, it's all an experiment, right? Like, none of us really know what we're doing. We'll read all the books, go to all the classes, ask all the friends, and still your kid's going to be like, not their bullshit mine. So you have to figure out how to deal with me. But honestly, when I take a step back, I'm like, our whole life is like that. Our whole
Hmm.
life is a freaking experiment. And so I'm like, you know what? Use your parenting as your superpower and be like, you know what? I know how to navigate this. I know how to navigate people who are not sane. I know how to navigate people who don't want to follow suit. Like, I know how to do these things. And we really are more heroic than we think we are. And I'm just encouraging everyone, like, lean into that and say yes to what you want. And if it doesn't work out, you learn something and you do it different next time.
Hmm. So what's on your list down the line? Like, I imagine that you're someone that has this ever evolving, like, it's not a conveyor belt, but this ever evolving, like, we have this experience and then this informs the next direction or what we want to do for this. What are some of the things that you are not putting off?
Yeah, so my husband and I really do want a camper van, and we want to just travel a lot more than we do. And we had a season of life where we did, and just circumstances have slowed us down a bit. So we're actively looking for RVs and camper vans again so we can pick that back up. I mean, now that we're on the West Coast, we kind of just want to hop in on the weekends or when the kids are out of school and go and explore this side of the country more with the kids. And from a business perspective, I'm really leaning into my intuition a lot. So like the minute I get an idea, I go start exploring it until it feels like it's not worth exploring anymore. until it feels like it's time to pivot. And one thing that I haven't navigated just yet, but I'm working on is, how do I, as a introvert who likes to be alone, figure out better ways to build in-person community? And I think in my mind, I used to always say, well, once the kids are grown, then I'll have time to go to dinner with friends or whatever. But I'm really feeling and realizing I need that now in my life. And so whether I got to bring the kids as tag alongs or whatever it may be, I'm in a season where I need people, and I'm going to figure out what that looks like.
So specifically in person, or is it connecting with people to, like, in your community, to know that like the things that you're doing, you're not doing alone? Or is it that face to face, sitting 3 feet across from somebody at a dinner table? What kind of connection are you looking for?
Yeah. So, I feel very strongly in my ability to build digital or virtual connections, and I'm building a community. I'm in lots of others, and, I love that. But I think there is something to be said for exchanging physical energies inside of a room together. So, one of the things that I do a lot is I take mini sabbaticals where I go away for 24, 48 hours, usually once a quarter or so. And so I'm really looking at how do I build those in with other people and not just do those alone, but use them as time where we come together and build community. And so what does that look like if I'm building an event or this retreat or something? I've never done that kind of thing before. So that might be new for me. But yeah, I think there's a time and place to be able to stay in touch, like literally phone in pocket. We can stay in touch as much as possible. But there is nothing I think that can replace giving each other a hug, feeling each other's energy in a room, and having someone to cry with, laugh with. You just, those emotions are not quite the same, I think, virtually.
Yeah. And I think too, like it's also important to know like how much you need, because I think that again, that's an area where like you may need, some people need a lot more than other people. Like some people, and I think about this from when like my kids were really little, there were people that like they walked all the time together and they had coffee and there was like people in other people's houses and stuff like that. And I always felt like, okay, that's like just the process of getting there, and not even to say like that's a huge barrier. It was just like, I don't really want to. And I really enjoyed these people and I still, still am friends with a lot of them. But just that the lift of getting there, sometimes it was worth it. And sometimes it's like, okay, well, if it's this time and there's nap schedules and there's all of that. Oh my God, the nap schedules. There's all of that logistical hangover that happens, but that every once in a while, I learned in that whole process, like my social battery does not need to sit on the charger for very long. It's like, okay, we're good now.
It needs a quick hit.
Quick hit. Thank you very much. And that also changes over time too. Like now I can go out to dinner and sit down for 3 hours and have like a really long dinner. Whereas, when I had a baby who was breastfeeding, it's like an hour and a half. And I'm like, I gotta go because like I'm sweating and this was great. But like, no, I don't want dessert. I do not want another drink. Like, thank you very much. I'm running out the door. Like, this was great.
I know. Yeah. All my kids are going to be in school next year. Everyone will be of school age next year. So I think that's part of where this is like coming up for me, because I'm like, okay, I got about 2 months before I'm going to have, X amount of hours a day alone. And I have not had that in 5 years. So, I think that's part of it too. But I'm with you. I'm not one of those that's like, I need to do dinner every Tuesday night and coffee every Sunday. But like, I can't. I like my alone time and I like not having a strict schedule far too much for that. But knowing that there is like scheduled time or, an intentional time that happens, I am excited about the thoughts of.
Yeah. So how are you thinking about kindergarten? Because I'm in the same spot. My last baby is going into kindergarten in the fall. And I'm very aware of the fact that I've had a kid with me for the last 12 years. And now they will be in school. And it's not even, and this isn't the question of like, what are you going to do with all your time? Because that's crap. That is a crap question. I would like to make a public service announcement. Please do not ask a mom who is putting their last kid into kindergarten or into any sort of formal schooling what they're going to do with their time. Because you know what? Whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah. If they want to stare at the wall, damn it, it's well worth it.
Stare at the wall. But also, like, what do you think they were doing with the kid? Like, it's not like you were sitting there like bird's eye view for the last 5 years. You were doing all of the things. They are now having the space to do the things with both eyes in the forward direction versus the like one eye and that, whatever it is, work from home, in the office, staying at home, whatever that is. I want to make sure this is category agnostic, but like, don't ask someone what they're doing with their time, because that person's time has not just been like sitting.
And also, it's none of your damn business. Let's just be real.
Amen. Amen. From the rooftops. Amen. I'm already getting asked this question like, oh my gosh, you're going to have so much free time. Same thing. I run a company. I don't have free time.
No,
I just won't work at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I'm like, right now, my 5-year-old is out there doing literally God knows what. So the minute I'm done recording this podcast, I'm going to go clean up whatever that thing is, right? Like, yeah. And then I work 7th shift of the day at 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., right? Yeah, I'm so with you. I think for me, what am I doing? I have found a group for my middle daughter. She's 8 and she's I don't know, testing the entrepreneurial waters. She's an artist. And so she's been drawing things and trying to sell them. And so I found a group of other girls that are kind of in a similar space. And the moms all hang out while the girls are meeting. And so
Ooh.
that feels exciting to me because they all have kids in similar spaces. We all have kids in similar ages. And I don't want to say it's forced socialization, but there's no logistics involved. If she has an event, I know the moms will be there. It makes my life easy. But also, I've seen this thing lately on Threads. Like, I recently got back on Threads. I left all social media except for LinkedIn last year. And then I got this 2 a.m. thought that I had to be on Threads. So I am. But I've been seeing this thing of like, oh, hey, I'm in Phoenix. I'm looking for other moms in Phoenix. And like these women are coming out of the woodwork and they're just like scheduling coffee. And it's like, it's been apparently like the easiest way. So I'm like, I might give that a shot and just be like, hey, I don't have a kid chasing me around today. I'm going to be at this coffee shop working. Anybody
Yeah,
want to meet up and hang out? So I might just leave it up to universe's chance and see who comes to join me. But I'm excited about the thought of it.
that's awesome. And that also does not have a Craigslist vibe to it, which I appreciate.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one thing I've enjoyed. I feel like the people I have encountered on Threads are really genuine, like us. You're like, I'm in the thick of it. I'm figuring it out. I don't know the
Mhm.
answers. And so, yeah, I'm like, all right, well, whatever. Let's just give it a shot and see.
Yeah, I mean, making friends as a mom is like another level of like the dating world, right? It's like you meet when they're little and you're on the playground and you're like, I haven't talked to another adult for 6 hours, and the person's like, how are you? And all of a sudden you're like talking about like toileting schedules and like what your kid choked on and like all this stuff, and people are like backing away slowly. You're like, I don't have a lot of adults
Yeah.
around me. Like my conversations are 3 feet and under right now, and they're like, oh, look, my kid has to go to the bathroom. You're like, never see you again. And that's
Yeah.
fine. Like, I feel amazing. I just had to get that out there.
Right. You're like, we were all dumping grounds for each other for a while. Now I want to find people, who are doing great things with their life, who are building, exciting, chasing dreams. And I feel like I just need some more inspiration, right? Of people around me who I feel intrigued by what they're doing and people that I can learn from and that I can share knowledge back with.
Yeah. And what a cool place to be able to do that, right? Like, it's not the idea of like, you are putting down solid roots, but like, if you know you're going to be there for a while, you can create this community for yourself in person while you're creating this online space, and then be able to say, okay, now like we're taking the show on the road, but you're at this point in your life where you're following what you need.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I love that. Well, I would love for you to share where people can find you and your community, because I know that there are plenty of listeners who are parents, and also parents that are building businesses and could probably use a virtual coffee or an in-person coffee if they're in Phoenix.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn most actively. I'm at Gabs Hayes on LinkedIn. You can find me there. And then, like I said, I have a podcast called Overwhelmed and Over It. So come hang out with me. I keep the episodes short and sweet because I know that you're busy and you hardly have time to breathe, let alone to consume. So I try to keep those short and sweet. And the link to the community is the village. And so if you go to gabshayes.com, you can get into the village with us there and join us. We're doing service, like I said, service swaps. I do free trainings every Monday on just how to move forward for that week, and just really there to support each other and be able to drop the mask. You don't have to say that you have it all together. I say all the time, like, I hate parenting, but I'm a parent. So here I am navigating it. We're figuring it all out together.
And you don't have to love every single like nuance of parenting to love parenting. It's okay to hate certain parts of it, and it's okay to be like, I'm glad that stage is over. So I love that.
Snack time, Ashley.
It's snack time.
I have been in here for an hour. I mean, how dare I? Like, I have not been fed, and I did not feed her at 7:30. It's only 9 my time.
Dying slowly, dying a very slow, painful death. Well, I appreciate you coming on today. It was so nice to meet you and so nice to chat about this, because I do think from the very bottom of my heart that we need more honest and open conversations around like not loving every second of things, and also not getting trapped in the shouldness of life. So thank you for sharing everything that you shared today. Some of that stuff is really big and heavy. So I appreciate you coming on and being so open. And I hope that everyone comes to find you in the village, because it sounds amazing.
Oh, I'm so glad we got to do this, Ashley. Thank you.